Have you heard yet about Future, the real estate conference by Appfolio? Appfolio has created an entire event dedicated to preparing your business for the future of technology and real estate. In San Diego on October 28th through 30th at Future, you will learn to seize the opportunity of AI and transform the performance of your business. Here's why you absolutely need to be there. Industry pioneers. Learn from 90 plus speakers, including heavyweights like Don Carpenter from Iron, Michael Akinwumi from the National Fair Housing Alliance, and Christy Fickert from RealLink. Miss out, and you'll be paying catch up all year. Epic keynotes. Hear from best-selling author Daniel Pink and three-time Olympic gold medalist Kerry Walsh Jennings. These are stories you won't want to miss. Cutting-edge sessions. Customize your agenda from over 45 sessions to dive into the latest AI trends, market forecasts, or growth strategies. There's something for everyone, including yours truly. I have the privilege of participating in 2 sessions on 2 panels, transforming the employee experience in an AI-enabled future and practical approaches for improving multifamily operations. And power networking. Connect with industry leaders and potential partners. This is the chance to build game-changing relationships. And live musical performances. See one of the most iconic R&B bands of all time, Boys II Men, perform at the breathtaking Rady Shell. Don't let your competition get ahead. Join us at Future and stay at the forefront of AI and real estate. Register now at futureconference.com. That's futureconference.com, FUTURECO. Welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Collective. Today I wanted to talk about the scared little kid inside. And what I mean by that, I think there are, who knows, a lot of people in the world deal with anxiety and social anxiety particularly. You go into a social environment and all of a sudden your brain shuts down. It seems like your brain shuts down because you can't put 2 sentences together. You can't get words out of your mouth in a coherent way. Because the stimulus in the environment is so overwhelming that it just shuts the circuits down. That's the only way I know how to describe it. I say that from personal experience. There are times where I get in environments that just have so much stimulation coming from every angle, be it noise or sight or aroma. It doesn't matter. There's just so much stimulus in the marketplace, if you will, that you can't process it all, and therefore your brain just gets on this overwhelm. And it was interesting to me. I read a story this past week. I'm a big fan of Billy Oppenheimer. He puts out a newsletter every Sunday evening. Basically tells 6 stories about a theme. He has a through line, and then he uses 4 to 6 stories to back up the through line. It's a very interesting newsletter. I read it every single week. I can't wait. It's Monday morning reading for me. But Billy shared a story about John Mayer, the musician, and how John went to several years of therapy, counseling, as a result of growing up as a band member through junior high school, and really alienated and isolated as an individual because the friend group or the other groups in the school were doing other things that they were thought, were obviously more interesting to them. But John was really deep into his music, and he would go home every afternoon and he would get out the vinyl and he would play some of the greats, which helped him feel like he was in an environment that he was accepted and that he could go back and forth with in terms of like mentorship and, listening to a lick and then trying to play that, those sorts of things. But anyway, going through therapy and counseling later on in his life, because getting on stage was like dying 1,000 deaths. Standing in front of people and producing the art that he did was like dying 1,000 deaths. And he would get up there and it just was very overwhelming, not unlike being in a big crowd of people for some who don't do well in those circumstances. So the therapist had actually given him this tactic, and it's a technique that I've heard before, a different variation of it. But the one that his counselor gave him was, hey, look, invite the little kid in you when that anxiety rears its ugly head or rears its cute little head, because you're sort of along this little kid analogy. It's like, hey, buddy, I know you're scared. I tell you what, why don't you come with me up on the stage and you stand right next to me, and while I do my thing, you can stand right there and you can feel safe, right? I've heard it otherwise described as, hey, I hear you, anxiety, or you have that picture in your minds where anxiety shows up, knocks on the door, you're about to do something that brings anxiety to you. Anxiety is there, it's knocking on the door to your mind, and you open the door and you say, hey, come on in. why don't you go over there and sit on the couch? I'm going to go do this thing. As soon as I get back, you and I can engage. We can talk about this anxiety thing. So just get yourself comfortable, grab a drink, get some food out of the fridge if you want to, but you can just hang out there until I'm done with this thing. So you literally go through this mental exercise, not unlike the one that John's therapist described to him, or his counselor described to him, just bring the little kid up on stage, and the little kid is sitting there in a safe place, in a place of grace where you can still do your thing, and the little kid is acknowledged and seen and heard and feels safe. And so you get through whatever it is. I thought it was interesting that it was John Mayer, because if you and I were to look at John Mayer, you think, really, a guy like that who stands on stages almost every night and and he's just amazing. He's an amazing musician. You never see that, right? You don't see that in people like John Mayer. You walk out into a crowd. My speculation is there's a big percentage of that crowd that has that same sort of anxiety when they go into a crowd. Even socialites, even people who are type A personalities, they still have those fears and that anxiousness. They just have some innate wiring that pushes forward anyway. But there are others who it's a real exercise to get out and get in public and walk out into a multifamily conference, onto the floor, participate in the after-hour party events that are programmed to be very social in nature, very tight spaces, and lots of people mingling around one another. For some people, it's like dying 1,000 deaths, or it's sucking all the energy out of them, and it's very hard for them to interact in those spaces. But they do it. But you would never know. You would never know. You see people like that, and you would never know. In fact, they'll say to you, "I would never have guessed that about you," when you're attempting to tell them that is like dying 1,000 deaths for you. It's very difficult for you. So my encouragement to all of you out there, shy types, introverted types, types that deal with social anxiety and things of that nature, you feel the fear, invite the little kid on stage with you, invite the little kid to the party with you, or tell that person who's knocking on the door, that metaphorical anxiety knocking on the door, go take a seat on the couch. I'm going to go do this thing. When I get back, we can have a conversation about this anxiety and go from there. But get out there. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.